welcome, Patriots. Happy Friday, and God bless you. I can't believe it's Friday. Like, this week's gone way, way too fast. You know, picking up a little bit on the topic you guys were talking about in the chat there. It's for some of you here, maybe you've been into politics your whole life. Others started following it at a point where life got interesting or became necessary regarding your everyday life finally. And it's one of those things it's hard to turn off once you turn it on. And that's not a bad personality to have, but it can also be kind of an exhausting one and a frustrating one. You know what's coming. I mean, I know we're waiting for this and that to happen, but the fight goes on long after this, and it's a fight to continue on what President Trump worked on, and a fight to get people in there that understand his values and continue on that way throughout the world to keep all that stuff in place and secured. It's a tough task, and you as patriots sort of have to figure out where you land and all that. Are you gonna stick around for that fight after the war's over, or are you going home and picking up on something else? Your communities are important too, don't get me wrong. That's the other big thing, is enacting all this stuff in your communities to make your communities better places. That's what this is all about. It's what Q's all about. That's what the plan's all about. And there's lots of ways to do that. So anyway, lots of interesting new bits and pieces to the Charlie Kirk stuff, which I hate to keep going over again and again, though the information gets new, but it also feels sort of like my obligation to do so. So with that note, we will get started today, because my Lord, there's a ton of stuff to look at. I wanted to start here just because it goes with what we were talking about. I mean, this is today's Delta. Panic in UK, panic in DC. Very tied in with what's happening. This is a different one, but, you know, it's exactly what I was talking about. We're going to show you a new world. Those who are blind will soon see the light. A beautiful, brave new world lies ahead. That's exactly where we're headed. Charlie Kirk. So that guy was kind of going on about Candace Owens in the intro, and the thing is, he's wrong, and the other two guys are actually wrong. You've got Charlie Kirk, number one, reposting her post as early back as 2023. Not to mention she toured with him. Not to mention, you're going to find out, she's a little closer than you think. He offered to host that debate between Candace and Ben Shapiro in 2024. Yeah, there's that. She also provided screenshots of text messages between herself and Charlie. Interesting. Not the main point, though. This is interesting. It looks like she's actually on the Turning Point USA executive staff still, according to this. Just little things I wanted to point out. It's, you know, sort of my job to help clear up some of these things. All right, now we're going to talk about the Flash. Have you heard about the Flash yet? That's just part of it. There's a lot of other stuff here today and a lot of other news, so I'm going to try and go fast. There's a muzzle flash that people believe off the window in some of these videos. Second shooter location, a reflection, or both. The video captures a flash on a window right as Charlie Kirk was shot. Yeah, it's going to be hard to look at all those numbers with the video, but let's see if we can see it in the video first.
Last 10 years. Counting or not counting gang violence? Great. Counting or not counting gang violence? Great. Counting or not counting gang violence? Great. Counting or not counting gang violence? Great.
It's pretty damn clear, I'd say. Did you guys see it? It's hard to see it first. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. That is kind of weird from that position. There shouldn't be a muzzle flash off the window, not from 200 yards away, and not if you were up on an elevated position, in my opinion. So there's that. MJ kind of made a video trying to show you where everyone was, but it's hard to understand it if you don't have these numbers in front of you, so I'm not going to bore you with that. Here's another thing that Candace has been going on about today. We're going to take a look at, see if it could be possible. She reveals never released images of Tyler Robinson at a nearby Dairy Queen hours after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Here's the thing. I don't know if it was hours or not. There's another picture out there. It says he was there like 17 minutes afterwards, of course. But you got to kind of pick through all this stuff. So let's get started.
And this is what happened. Something made its way around the entire town and into my tips line repeatedly. It is a very clear image of Tyler Robinson, allegedly taken, I'll say allegedly for safety here, but it's looking right according to my timeline, allegedly taken at 6:38 p.m. at a nearby Dairy Queen. Here is that photo that we can show you. Just take a look at this photo. What is wrong with this picture? A lot is wrong with this picture. First and foremost, 6:38 p.m., you just shot someone. You have gone through great pains to hide your face, to change your outfit. But wait, you didn't fully change your outfit, did you? I'm looking at this photo, and you're wearing jeans and you're wearing the maroon shirt. Now we have a 50-50 combo of the outfits. And now you're showing your eyes and you're not fearful at all that you might be recognized. Also, wow, you must have quite the stomach. You don't have a record. Next thing you know, you shoot someone and you're like, I'm just going to go have a meal. You don't seem to be too shaken or too upset. Something problematic is the location, by the way. We mapped this out. It's about 15 minutes away from the campus at a time when we're told that he's idling by, babysitting the rifle. So you can see, we're showing you, it's about a 17-minute drive away from the campus. So there should be a lot of footage then of this Dodge Challenger driving back and forth. Okay. And like I said, the biggest thing that jumps at me is he looks kind of content there. So he's got to be a full-blown psychopath, wearing half of what the feds told us he was wearing in the morning and half of what the feds told us that he was wearing during the shooting. Okay, so why did he text in this exchange at all and say that he changed outfits? When you just said, I changed my t-shirt, if that's the reality, you just changed your t-shirt and that was enough? Was it just a t-shirt that he changed? The outfit, again, as I sensed yesterday, has always been problematic. I feel the outfit was the Fed mistake. It never made any sense to say that he wore an outfit onto campus, light khaki shorts and a maroon shirt, and then decided to completely change hours later. Because why wouldn't you just change the t-shirt? That actually makes more sense. Every kid wears blue jeans. You don't have to change blue jeans or change out of khaki shorts to avoid detection. That's not going to go, hey, we're stopping you because you're wearing blue jeans. That's not a thing. It would make much more sense if he had just changed his t-shirts.
I'm telling you guys, I'm going to take you down a heck of a rabbit hole today, but you got to stick around because we got things to go over. We might just solve the whole thing of who might be behind it, but first we got to solve this photo sent to Candace Owens. She says she has a source that told her they saw Tyler Robinson drop clothing off at a cemetery near the Dairy Queen he was spotted in. So here's part number 2. Let's hear this real quick.
Maybe you are a shop along this way near that Dairy Queen, and you should check your footage to see if around this time, 6:38 or else, that you saw a Dodge Challenger go by. Source tells me that they saw him dropping, near this Dairy Queen, that there's a cemetery, and he was dropping clothes into that cemetery. Now, we have not gotten anything from the feds about where the clothing was dropped off, where he changed, nothing. My question then is, what is going on? My suspicion, I maintain, is that there are multiple people that are involved. And after receiving this, that suspicion is growing. Okay? Like I said, unless that man is a cold-blooded killer, he just seems to be la-di-da, eating some Dairy Queen, and it's not making sense.
Look, I don't doubt that there was more than one person involved, but the problem with what she's telling you is just, the problem with a source that tells you things and sends you things that you can't verify is that it's helpful to one point to investigators to look at new things like, can they see the Challenger on the route? But then it's also somewhat reckless to put out these kinds of things when you're not fully investigating what you're looking at. Now, people that have seen this are pointing out, number one, the Superman poster. And it's because they say that the theme menu items at McDonald's officially began on May 26th of this year. The film released on July 11th of this year. And it makes you wonder if this is even right after the shooting at all. So that's that little story there. We have reason to sort of doubt what they're telling you. I don't know who put this up. I don't know that that's accurate at all. See, it's that part. I know it sucks. I'm still going to take you down a heck of a rabbit hole here soon, but have to get this stuff out of the way. I know it can be frustrating. I'm trying to go do it quick because really I don't want you to get too confused by Candace Owens, but it is somewhat important, a few of these things. The White House posted a meme of that poster on July 10th at 10:10 p.m. I don't know what to say about that. It seemed like Trump just responding to the movie at the time, but you can always look for comms in these things, but we gotta move forward. There's a ton of stuff today. So she asks who gave TMZ the home video of Tyler Robinson, who are the Steels, and reportedly everyone in the neighborhood works for the same company called Dara Engineering. That I find a little interesting. I want to hear what she has to say about that. The reason I find that interesting is because sometimes there's these communities, it seems like they're entirely made up of feds. Like, there was this story going around after Sandy Hook that everyone in the town had their mortgages paid off that Christmas, and there was some good evidence to back that up.
It's I know it's been said many times, but this is a safe place. This is a calm place. We're right next to the largest university in the state, but at the same time, they're generally good people.
Steele says they're helping authorities by giving them any footage they have on their outdoor cameras. But he says it's still startling to know the gunman could have been so close to their homes. We have students going up and down the street all day long, and it's never been a threat to our safety. And so for something like this to happen it's shocking. It's really shocking.
Seems like a good good guy. I have no beef with him. Immediately, actually, I was wondering, why were we ever told that it was doorbell cam footage? It obviously was not doorbell cam footage. It's too high. Hence, the height of the footage in general. Secondly, like I said, this clip is from the morning after Charlie Kirk's assassination. So TMZ had already publicized that footage. And so that strikes me as a little odd. That would stipulate that either the feds, like I said, collected that footage the night before and then immediately gave it to TMZ, or this guy himself gave it to TMZ before he gave it to the feds. So we're looking into Erwin, and we find that he doesn't just co-own just that one house on the street with somebody else named Samuel Steele, but Samuel and his wife Carrie are the ones that own the house that gave the footage, not Erwin. But Erwin is saying that he lives in that house, but actually we found some other Steeles that live in that house. And I'm wondering, okay, that seems a little bit confusing. Maybe you're all family. You just go, oh, okay, well, we kind of own all of these houses, whatever. But that strikes me as a little bit odd. I decided to look a little bit further to see like what it was that he was in. Like, what business is your family in? And it turns out that they work for an engineering place, a place that makes called Caldera Engineering. It's a company called Caldera Engineering, and ostensibly they manufacture valves. Okay. Now that stood out to me because I just find that the manufacturing of valves keeps coming up when I look into certain people, because I'm all about the genealogy, and I could name 3 people that I got curious about whose family manufactures valves. I don't know if that's a big business out in Utah, also in Canada. When I was looking into Harley Pasternak, that's exactly what his family did. They were in piping and valves, and I'm going, okay, whatever. A local source told me that virtually everyone on that block works for that company. The Steeles are a big family in Orem. Okay, fine. And it's like, yeah, that's something that our source, we have a very good source, said that whole block is pretty much employees of that engineering company, Caldera. Okay, just put that in the back of my mind. Looking for some other witnesses. I decided witnesses pertaining to Tyler Robinson. We have a second witness, and her account is kind of confusing to me, and I'm going to tell you why. First and foremost, her last name also happens to be Steele, but this one witnessed something 4 hours away. Her name is Sherry Steele, and she spoke to the BBC about how she had witnessed the police swarm the townhouse of Tyler Robinson and Lance while she was walking her dog in the evening. Here is what she says. I'm going to read it directly here from the article. This is from the article. It reads, Sherry Steele, who lives across the street from the residence, came back from an evening walk to see a large police presence. In a video that she showed the BBC, for some reason the BBC is not publishing this video, a loud voice, which she said belonged to the authorities, can be heard shouting, "Freeze!" and "Come out now." It just kind of blows your mind coming up the street, and all of a sudden there are helicopters above your house, Ms. Steele said, adding that she had never spoken to Mr. Robinson. Okay. Couple of things that don't work about that testimony to me. First and foremost, doesn't work with my timeline. I really care about my timeline here. Okay. She says she's walking her dog in the evening. We are told by the feds, 33 hours should have been nighttime, right? Their 33 hours should have been 9 p.m. Is when Tyler Robinson, that turned himself in. But then we found out from other sources that actually it was more like 7 o'clock p.m.
Yeah, I mean, it is odd that you've got 2 family members 4 hours away. You got the people that have the footage, particularly live on a block where everyone works at the same company. So it's that part of what she's doing is good investigation there. Good work. Moving forward, we'll get out of Candace's spotlight. Let's see. Oh, we looked at that already, didn't we? I think so.
We have a second witness, and her account.
Yeah. Yes, we did. We're done with Candace. All right. Tempest, the South Korean series, premiered on September 10th, 2025 on Disney Plus and Hulu, and it featured a plot where two people, one a political figure, was shot in the neck, same neck location, and same day as Charlie Kirk. That is just weird. It was a little bit weird. I'm not going to show the footage here because it's too similar to what happened to Charlie Kirk, and I'm just not going to show it. And you'll find it more weird here in a minute when you hear about the time he spent in Korea. Matt Gaetz posted, this problem with this perspective from the Zionist donors is that it inevitably fails, even if their wishes were granted by Charlie. What's next? After you ban Tucker, Candace, and Matt Gaetz, what's next? You're going to ban a substantial portion of the audience that increasingly agrees with us based on their own observations? Yeah, it's Matt Gaetz just talking about... He's responding to Candace Owens' post saying that Charlie was falling out of love with Israel because they were controlling who he could invite to his conferences. We kind of know about some of that. Look who's guest hosting the Charlie Kirk show. This was Don Jr. and Tucker Carlson guest host the latest episode. This, I thought, was interesting. Charlie Kirk was in South Korea 11 days ago on September 5th and 6th. He spoke at the Build Up Korea 2025 conference in Seoul. It's weird that that movie premiered. I mean, that's a lot of coincidences.
You know, I'm very glad he got to do that.
And
then
in Korea, though...
yeah, now Korea, totally different.
Very
different story.
We have this clip. Why don't we just play it if it's okay,
Great.
Tucker?
Oh my gosh,
play cut
of course.
18. That was 11 days ago, Tucker, and he's on stage, and in English, they asked him to come forward and pray and sing over Charlie, and they put their hands up, and they started in English saying, "How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God?" And Charlie put his hand on his heart, and Mikey said when he got off stage, like he could see his eyes were misty. It meant so much to him.
Well, that's definitely not Don Jr., but Tucker Carlson, I could see why... Erica Kirk would pick him. The United States Senate unanimously established October 14th, which is Charlie's birthday, as National Day of Remembrance for Charlie Kirk, which is a pretty big honor.
So got some breaking news here, Chad, that Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democrats, the House Democrats, just voted yes. He's a yes on honoring Charlie Kirk, and AOC just voted no. So there is the divide right there within the Democratic Party on a resolution that really should be bringing everyone together. Thank you, Chad Pergram, live on the Hill for us with that breaking news. Let's bring in...
And people keep saying unanimously. It really wasn't at all, but it had a lot of Democratic support, surprisingly. We'll get back to the... Charlie Kirk debacle here in a minute. We're going to take a deeper look at who might have been behind it. CDC advisors vote to recommend against combined measles, mumps, rubella, and chickenpox vaccine for children under 4. I remember that vaccine. I think we got it at either 6 or 8 years old, something like that. The MMR.
Alexis Dominguez in our newsroom tonight with more. And Alexis, we've been reporting immunization rates in our state are already dropping.
Yeah, that's right. State records show MMR immunization rates have dropped nearly in every county in Arizona since 2019. Issuing new recommendations could mean losing access to vaccines and possibly insurance coverage, dropping vaccination rates even further.
It's bigger than people think because what Robert Kennedy Jr. said about it is he's trying to make it so parents have a choice in whether or not they vaccinate their children, and when he's trying to give them options, real options, better options. The Netherlands Dutch Parliament voted in favor to declare Antifa a terrorist organization. That's some good support.
I'm Christine Frizzell in Washington. It's been a target of President Trump for years now, and tonight he's taking action, designating the protest group Antifa as a terrorist organization. But the group is not official and operates domestically, two factors that could complicate his move. The movement gained national prominence back in 2017.
And of course, the Dutch Parliament doing that comes after Trump does it here. And you'll find that there's this other sect of Antifa that we're going to take a look at today. It might have some involvement in all this stuff. There was a strong magnitude earthquake, a 7.8 in Kamchatka. That was last night, some point when we were on the air.
Well, let's get more now on the magnitude 7.8 earthquake recorded off Russia's eastern Kamchatka Peninsula, which has sparked tsunami warnings and alerts in the Pacific. Chief scientist at the Seismology Research Centre, Adam Pascali, is in the studio with us. Hello, Adam. How are you?
Good, thank you.
We saw you not too long ago, really. Tell us a bit about this particular earthquake. How deep was it? And tell us about the warnings. A lot of them have been lifted now, haven't they?
That's right. So, yeah, it's a similar sort of depth to the one that we had about 7 weeks ago. That was the sixth largest earthquake we'd ever recorded in history at 8.8. And this is a 7.8, which is an aftershock of that sequence.
Okay, and how deep is it, or where did it hit?
So it hit just off the coast of Kamchatka, which is an island in the Pacific near Russia. And, it was large enough to generate a tsunami warning because that really comes down to the magnitude and the depth of the earthquake, which is shallow enough to create a tsunami potentially.
Now, this wasn't the first aftershock, is that right?
No, there have been sort of continuous ones since...
He didn't say the death, but it seems odd to me that these record-breaking earthquakes continue to happen one after the other when they've been given all these warnings to the west coast of the United States, and then you got the stuff that Jaco says. Makes me wonder what kind of future disaster we have ahead of us. This was something being reported from the New York Times from Kamala Harris said, minutes before she went on the debate stage, Biden gave her a call to say that his brother told him that she was bad-mouthing him. And she said, I couldn't understand why he would call me right now and make it all about himself. You can't understand why a senile old man would call. No, I don't know. Zuckerberg's latest AI-powered smart glasses had a bit of some... had some issues. We'll just say that. It didn't look good.
Right. So I think our call will be coming in any moment now.
Pause WhatsApp video call.
There we go. Uh-oh. Well, let's see what happened there. That's too bad. I don't know what happened. Maybe Boz can try calling me again. All right. Well, I got a missed video call. Okay, there's the actual video call. All right, I'm just gonna pick that up with my neural band. This is, it happens. Yeah, let's. What do you think? Let's just go ahead and.
Pause WhatsApp video call.
Let's go for a fourth. All right, try it again. I keep on messing this up. And if not, then we'll go for the less fun option. Okay. I don't know what to tell you guys. All right.
How about don't buy the piece of shit 5 times in a row is not a good sign. I don't know what to tell you. Well, you made the damn thing. The Taliban reacted to Trump's comments on the Bagram base in Afghanistan by freeing hostages, surprisingly.
Got some breaking news out of Afghanistan. The Taliban has just released a British couple that was detained for nearly 8 months. It's been a long 8 months for them. Released today, Peter Reynolds and his wife, Barbie. The couple lived in Afghanistan for nearly 2 decades, but in February, the Taliban nabbed them with the allegation that they were breaking Afghan laws.
Let's take a look at that couple.
Breaking story. We were telling you that the British couple Barbie and Peter Reynolds have been safely released from detention. They've been held in Afghanistan since February. Well, these are the first images that we are getting in of them. They are on a plane there, you can see, with what appears to be officials from Qatar. Now, it was mediation from Qatar that helped secure their release. The Qataris had been engaging with authorities in Afghanistan.
Pretty good day, though, when you see Afghanistan working with the president. You know, you're seeing some change happening. Palestinian authorities arrested a suspect over a 1982 anti-Semitic Paris attack. I guess they're going back a ways in time on the anti-Semitic stuff, aren't they?
Well, just days then before France is set to officially recognize a Palestinian state, there's been a breakthrough in the investigation into the 1982 attack on a Jewish restaurant in the French capital. In what's been described as a major procedural breakthrough, Palestinian authorities arrested a key suspect in this case on Friday. That announcement actually coming from French prosecutors who were citing Interpol. 70-year-old Hisham Harb is suspected of leading the assailants in that gun attack on the Joe Goldenberg restaurant back in 1982. Now, 6 people were killed.
That's pretty good for your records, France. It only took you, 43 years to get around to it? Oh, my. Gotta love the news, folks. Head of British intelligence says there's absolutely no evidence that Putin wants to negotiate peace in Ukraine. I have to say, is there any evidence that he doesn't want to negotiate peace?
In breaking news, the outgoing chief of Britain's MI6, Richard Moore, has delivered a stark assessment of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Speaking from Istanbul, Moore stated there is absolutely no evidence that Russian President Vladimir Putin desires peace negotiations. Moore asserted that Putin is stringing us along, seeking to impose his will through force, but ultimately cannot succeed.
Yeah, it still doesn't make sense to me why Putin would start moving out of bounds now all of a sudden, like today. Estonia claims that they had a brazen incursion by Russian jets. That's after Poland, Lithuania.
Let's start with that breaking story, the developing story we've seen over the last hour or so, because Estonia's government says 3 Russian military jets entered NATO airspace without permission on Friday morning and stayed there for nearly 12 minutes. In a statement on X, a NATO spokesman said NATO responded immediately and intercepted the Russian jets which had violated Estonian airspace, adding this is yet another example of reckless Russian behaviour and NATO's ability to respond. The foreign minister of Estonia said the incident was the most brazen violation yet of its airspace and the 4th this year. He said Russia was increasingly testing its neighbours' borders with its aggression. The incident comes after a week in which more than 20 drones violated Polish.
Yeah, I just don't buy it. And, you know, it reminds me of the intro there. What did you think of that video from the author? Was in the car with Charlie Kirk after he was shot, listening to his testimony. And I'm not trying to be a dick about this, but I read people and his story just didn't add up. A lot of things about it didn't add up. And his behavior didn't seem to add up for a guy who referred to him as being like his son, you know. It was pretty back and forth. My opinion, though, the United Nations Security Council voted to reimpose Iran's nuclear sanctions today.
The result of the voting is as follows. 4 votes in favor, 9 votes against, 2 abstentions. The draft resolution has not been adopted, having failed.
I guess they wanted to get rid of those sanctions. That's the odd thing. I swear the news just cycles. It cycles around. It's like these stories. Israel army says we'll use unprecedented force in Gaza City, urging residents to leave. We've been doing that for a week.
It's a dire situation right now. Tonight, thousands of Palestinians are desperately trying to get out of Gaza as Israel begins an intense attack on Gaza City.
This is all part of Israel's expanded ground operations they've been warning about for weeks. Explosions lit up the sky overnight. Military leaders believing this operation will last quite a while.
There is a lot of criticism right now being directed at Israel for these attacks. UK Secretary of State for Foreign and Commonwealth Affairs, quote, is calling it utterly reckless and appalling.
Yes, that continues on, but we will look deeper as we go. Trump says he's going to meet Xi Jinping at South Korea for the APEC summit early next year. He said his phone call with Xi Jinping was positive and constructive and all that good stuff. We made progress on many very important issues, including trade, fentanyl, the need to bring the war between Russia and Ukraine to an end, and the approval of the TikTok deal. So, interesting stuff.
President Trump had this call with the Chinese president, Xi Jinping, this morning, actually. Do you know anything about what took place on the phone call?
Kira, the president called it a very productive phone call and says that he will meet with China's President Xi on the sidelines of a world leader summit next month in South Korea. He also says that Xi invited him to travel to China, which he says he will do early next year, and that Xi will come to the United States at an appropriate time. That productive call, in the president's view, he says focused on fentanyl, trying to end Russia's war in Ukraine, and also trade issues. Right now, there is, of course, a trade truce between the United States and China, where the president last month had dropped those very high tariffs from 145% down to 30%.
Should be interesting to see Trump go to China early next year, see what kind of treatment he gets there. Not that he hasn't been there a few times. Albania has a new AI minister. Delia addressed the parliament for the very first time, saying, "I'm not here to replace human beings." She was appointed by Albania's Prime Minister, Edi Rama, who said she would be entrusted with all decisions on public tenders, making them 100% corruption-free. What do you guys think of this?
A new artificially generated minister has given its inaugural address to Albania's parliament. Prime Minister Edi Rama presented the bot as a symbol of his government's push for transparency and innovation. In a 3-minute address delivered from 2 large screens, the avatar declared, "The Constitution speaks of institutions at the people's service. It doesn't speak of chromosomes, of flesh or blood." Rama argued that the AI-generated bot will help the government work faster and with full transparency. Opposition lawmakers are strongly critical of the AI bot, arguing that Diela is merely a tool for the government to conceal graft. They insist it is impossible to fight corruption through Diela and plan to take the matter to the Constitutional Court. It was unclear how the video was generated or the origin of the speech. Diela was created early.
Well, Diela sounds better than Delia, but I mean, number one, when you say "we the people," people's pretty clear definition. I mean, there's chromosomes and all that there, so I don't know what they're saying there, but how can this be fair when you still have somebody that's got to be behind the scenes?
Disa më kanë quajtur antikushtetuese nga që nuk jam njeri. Kjo më ka lënduar. Jo për vete, po për 972.000 ndër veprimet me qytetarët që u kam shërbyer në Albania dhe 36.000 dokumentat me vulut digjitale që kanë marrë nga unë. Më lejoni t'ju kujtoj, rreziku I vërtet për kushtetutat nuk kanë qenë kurrë makinat.
It just seems way too soon to start putting world affairs and the decisions, the entire country in the hands of an AI robot. whatever you call it. Can you imagine countries starting to do that more and more? Be problematic. University of North Carolina, Wilmington was on lockdown with possibly multiple gunmen. Actually, this was in the evening last night, wasn't it? This video was going around. The response, of course, and then the story.
In a shocking incident in US's North Carolina, a gunman is spotted on the campus of University of North Carolina at Wilmington on Thursday. The university, in fact, have issued a lockdown after the school received reports of gunman. The local media outlet WWAY reported that the alert was issued around 7:20 p.m. local time. University police issued an urgent shelter-in-place order at approximately 7:30 p.m. local time, urging students, staff and visitors to stay indoors and secure all of their windows and doors until any further notice. An UPD officer reached the location after the initial alert and confirmed that a lockdown was in effect, but declined to provide additional details, citing the ongoing investigation.
So it seems like this keeps happening now, where you see someone carrying a long gun like this, a video gets circulated, and yet they never find anybody. And as far as I know, there were no arrests made in that case. I suppose I could look, but you gotta dig to find it, so I'll keep an eye out. MAHA changes are coming to McDonald's. The investment will reduce the need for synthetic chemicals and fertilizers. They've unveiled a record $200 million investment in regenerative agriculture targeting cattle ranchers across 4 million acres in up to 38 states over the next 7 years. The initiative partners with the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service and others to promote regenerative grazing, habitat restoration, water conservation, and wildlife protection, aiming to boost soil health and cut resilience on synthetic chemicals and fertilizers. RFK Jr. celebrated the move on X, calling it a big win for regenerative practices and conservation efforts. But Robert had some other wins. This he posted yesterday. Thanks to President Trump's memorandum signed last week, the wheels are in motion to require every broadcast prescription drug ad to display its full safety facts on screen. This is amazing, especially after their investments.
Hi, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. here, your HHS Secretary. I'm proud to share a critical update with you today. The FDA is taking action to require full safety information to be included in drug ads on TV and radio. No more hiding vital information in small print or pushing it off to a website or a 1-800 number. Since 1997, regulators have allowed drug ads to avoid full warnings on TV or radio. They let the companies mention a vague major statement of risk and sent you elsewhere for the details. That loophole opened the door to a tsunami of misleading advertising. Drug ads drove up prescription drug costs and distorted doctor-patient conversations. Patients saw glossy ads and often asked for new medications. Big Pharma's marketing hooked the country on prescription drugs. We're taking action to end that practice. Thanks to President Trump's memorandum signed last week, the wheels are now in motion to require every broadcast prescription drug ad to display its full safety facts on screen. Companies would have to list important warnings, common side effects, and dangers directly in the ad. It's all about radical transparency and ensuring that you stay fully informed. We're rebuilding trust between doctors and patients and stopping the over-medicalization. At HHS, we believe an informed individual is an empowered individual. When you make health decisions about drugs, you deserve facts, not half-truths. We're working to make sure that you get the facts.
Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Interesting. Very, very awesome, actually. And I think he's right. I think people see glossy ads and it makes them interested in a drug, and we got to stop that, and stopping that will stop the media in a big way. Changes. A 22-year-old man was charged with threatening to kill New Hampshire Governor Kelly Ayotte. Say that right. Ayotte.
A man is facing criminal charges accused of threatening New Hampshire Governor Kelly Ayotte. Court documents showed 22-year-old Tristan Anderson from Hooksett claimed he wanted to target Ayotte with a weapon of mass destruction. His roommate told investigators that he sent the threats on Snapchat and that he had materials to make pipe bombs.
Okay. Wonder if his roommate turned him in. Probably. Can't go doing that. And the state of Florida just released a I Stand With Israel license plates. They've been working on this for a while.
Florida drivers will soon be able to show their support for the state of Israel. Starting next year, the state will have a new specialty license plate available. Florida Stands With Israel. The tag features the Star of David and two famous Florida symbols, an orange and an orange blossom. The Florida legislature approved the new tag in 2020, but it was not available until there were 3,000 pre-orders for the specialty plate. The Florida Stands With Israel tag will cost about $67. $25 of that will go to support Hatzalah of South Florida, a volunteer not-for-profit organization that provides emergency medical services to callers of all faiths. For the Florida Channel, I'm Maureen Walsh.
Oh, there's that, Florida. Do-do-do-do-do. Nice. I should have added some Megadeth there, huh, Ace? Good to see you. All right. Couple posts. This one from Juan O'Savin's camp today. What a coincidence. Ruth Bader Ginsburg died officially 9/18 of 2020, and it was very fortunate the White Hats forced this into the light so we could replace her with a conservative Supreme Court justice. I have an extensive decode on the fact she was on ice for quite a while. If interested, I could repost this, as the balance in SCOTUS was extremely important. To change Roe versus Wade to try and stop the killing of babies, some states they would have overridden and continue to kill, like Colorado. Why would Dan Scavino note this right now? Perhaps to reveal the details, because it relates to deep state operations that are now in play. On ice? What? Oh, okay. Now I get the reference she means. Ha! Ha! Yeah. Dead for a while? I suppose we had known that. Somebody posted this saying there's no gold fringes on the flags. I'm not sure what the story is there with these flags, so I'm just sharing it with you. Jimmy Kimmel was told to apologize to Charlie Kirk's family and make a donation to lift his ABC on-air suspension, but he refused. The Senate confirmed 48 of Trump's nominees all at once today. This is quite amazing.
We are going to continue on here on Live Now, covering some of this breaking news just now coming into our newsroom. I'm going to put this up on the screen. Via the Associated Press, we've talked a lot about where this is going, as President Trump has since been requesting for some of his nominations for those highly anticipated cabinet seats in other districts and jobs there in the Washington, D.C. But right now, the Associated Press reporting that the Senate has since confirmed 48 of Trump's nominees after changing the chamber's rules to avoid Democratic delays. And so reading a bit more here from the Associated Press, saying that the Senate has confirmed 48 of President Trump's nominees at once, voting for the first time under the new rules to begin clearing a backlog of executive branch positions that have been...
That's absolutely amazing. I'm surprised the left is not complaining about that. They're always picking at Trump. He's trying to... mess with things. That would be something I'd go after first. Like, oh, look, he changed it to make it easier to get your nominees in. I haven't heard a word about that from him. I don't know. Somebody pointed this out from last night's Wheel of Fortune. The final puzzle was power outage. Then they had in students from the JFK filmmaking magnet. It's in our face. Ha ha ha. Could be. Grammy-winning songwriter Brett James, known for hits like Jesus Take the Wheel, died in a North Carolina plane crash. Take a look at this story.
We have an update to breaking news out of Eastern North Carolina tonight, where we now know an award-winning songwriter was on board that small plane that crashed. The Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame just put out this post sharing condolences for Brett James. Brett James wrote several songs, including Carrie Underwood's Jesus Take the Wheel and Kenny Chesney's When the Sun Goes Down. All three people on board died in the crash. The Federal Aviation Administration and the National Transportation Safety Board are handling the investigation, as investigators expect to be on that crash site sometime tomorrow.
So I suppose we'll have to wait to find out what caused that crash. Seems like a lot of celebrities are going. Carolyn Leavitt's been given a Secret Service protection, finally, and I think that comes as part of Trump's move to get protection for several of his cabinet members and people. He also posted this today, a picture of himself investing money into Intel. Doesn't get much more clearer than that, I guess. If you invest, maybe you should consider looking at Intel. I don't know. Just a thought. Ben Shapiro posted, I would gladly waive the Born in USA requirement for presidency for Bibi. You must be insane. Nobody wants Benjamin Netanyahu as an American president, let alone an Israeli president. Mr. Shapiro. Stephen Miller posted the national media being more upset at Jimmy Kimmel losing his show than they are at Charlie Kirk losing his life is kind of proving a point. Certainly is, isn't it? Rand Paul posted, we found that Anthony Fauci was destroying records, which is a crime. He testified in front of Congress and said he wasn't destroying records, which is also a crime. I've asked Dr. Fauci to come and testify about this issue. If he doesn't come voluntarily, we will subpoena him. And that is, yeah. Doesn't have the date on there. All right. We're going to take a big look at this post. This gets really interesting. This is from Millie Weaver. Well, everyone argues whether it was Antifa or Israel. Can you guess where the Antifa groups I infiltrated were traced to? So we're going to look at where she goes with this whole thread. Clue number 1. I'm not convinced that Ehud Barak, who marvels that Maria Stevens' work is better, this dude is literally parodying the left's talking points and actions here in the States. So that's one. That's your former Israeli prime minister. Ehud Barak is the former Prime Minister of Israel and a Progressive Party leader. He also co-founded Paragon, Israeli spyware company. He's very closely tied with Jeffrey Epstein. That's interesting. Lisa Fithian and her Antifa were the ones directing the college. The overs dress as pro-Palestine protesters. I was able to identify Fithian and her comrades at the building takeovers and in the Antifa Zoom trainings. Interesting. What I found was that many participants in the season of pro-Palestine protests were in fact anti-fascist leftist Jews dressed in koifiyas that were tied to the Progressive Party of Israel's agenda. Their Instagrams evidence this. This is interesting. What we're seeing is Israel's power struggle between the Conservative Party and the Progressive Party bleed over into U.S. politics and vice versa. The GOP is being used to defend Netanyahu and Israel, while the Dems are teamed up with Ehud Barak and his intelligence contractor. So to clarify, they actually don't call their organizations Antifa. They operate in what they generally refer to as affinity groups, and they usually have a nonprofit or C4 that funds them, or a cluster of affinity groups. They profess that Antifa is an ideology that they all share. You may see them out in the streets fighting cops, waving an Antifa flag and colors, but when you infiltrate them and look under their hood, you see they operate inside a network of 501c3s and 501c4s and are structured in affinity groups. So are they run by Israel? Antifa is Jewish. Who would have thought? And I had thought it connected to the Muslim Brotherhood, but for all we know, the Muslim Brotherhood could be Jewish. Uh-oh. Solidarity with Israel. Antifa means solidarity with Israel. Antifa means solidarity with Israel. Attacks on Antifa are attacks on Jews. These are some interesting posts, aren't they? But you didn't know that. I mean, would have thought. Yesterday we saw a video of somebody handing Charlie Kirk's bodyguard a coin, and somebody made a reply about that saying, "This appears to be a security guard coining another security guard for working for Kirk. Coining is a military tradition in which service members carry their unit's coin. Giving their coin to another is an act of respect." I don't know if that's what was happening here or not.
The lesser, these are all Christian values. So what I'm getting at, though, is if we remove Christian values, which you may or may not be suggesting, what do we replace them with?
I guess my question is more centered around using taxpayer dollars. Well, I guess I can leave with a question. How do you feel about
To the lesser, these are all Christian.
And that was not the same day that he died. Just to point that out. Donaldo Trumpo. I know this is from 2022, but Kennedy's still alive. Have a nice day. I have a feeling he's laughing about that. It's probably an amazing post that we just don't even have a clue how significant it is that Kennedy probably faked his death. Oh, Kamala Harris getting caught being a hypocrite. This from September of 2025, and this from 2019. She said, let's be honest, real Donald Trump's Twitter account should be suspended. That was 2019. Then the other day she said, what we're witnessing is an outright abuse of power. The administration is attacking critics and using fear as a weapon to silence anyone who would speak out. Media corporations, from television networks to newspapers, are capitulating to these threats. We cannot dare to be silent or complacent in the face of this frontal assault on free speech. We the people deserve better. Yeah, it's pretty interesting, huh? hypocrites. Not so free speech when you turn the tables. Candace Owens has been speaking to locals who claim that the gun was actually found in their neighbor's backyard next to a chicken coop and not in the woods. The backyard where Tyler Robinson left his gun also happens to be next door to an abandoned home that is allegedly owned by Utah Valley University. Might have to start digging into that university and seeing what they connect to. From what I know, they didn't really particularly want Charlie Kirk there. Here's an interesting couple of posts. This is from SG and On. Kind of interesting that Charlie Kirk was married to the blood granddaughter of a knight of the Swedish royal court who founded a global charity at age 17 during the height of the Iraq War and started a humanitarian project visiting Romanian orphanages under the personal escort of the U.S. military. That is pretty interesting. It just, I think Charlie Kirk's been connected to things all his life, potentially an operative all his life. This is interesting. I didn't know the White House had any ties. I don't know that they do. White House cuts ties with LGBT gun group after Kirk shooting. The White House cut ties with a nonprofit over its links to a group that is being investigated over possible foreknowledge of Charlie Kirk's assassination. Yeah, I guarantee you they're not connected to the White House. The State Department said it had completely severed and dismantled its relationship with Utah Global Diplomacy after its linked Armed Queens SLC, a pro-gun LGBT group, were unearthed online. Utah Global Diplomacy. That was what came up the other day. I'm going to have to look into that. Anyway, this is like a sect of Antifa called Trans-Tifa.
इस बीच जब अमेरिकी हिंसक राजनीतिक कार्यकर्ताओं के बारे में सोचते हैं तो वे कई मामलों में एंटीफा और ब्लैक लाइव्स मैटर के बारे में सोचते हैं, लेकिन विशेषज्ञों के अनुसार एक नया आंदोलन उभर रहा है। यह आंदोलन कट्टरपंथी ट्रांसजेंडर कार्यकर्ताओं से जुड़ा है। वे कथित तौर पर लगातार हिंसक और उग्र होते जा रहे हैं।
And that happened again. Son of sorry. I'll have to pull that up in a minute. I wanted to have a video explaining what Trans-Tifa is. I'm sure you kind of get the idea, It's not that hard to put together in your brain. An 18-year-old high school student was shot and killed by an ATF agent in Aliquippa today. Not good.
Breaking details regarding the shooting death of a young man in Aliquippa. An FBI spokesman tells KDKA that the victim, 18-year-old Kendrick Curtis, was armed. Authorities say an agent with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives shot Curtis last night. He died overnight at Allegheny General Hospital. Curtis was a senior at Aliquippa High School. Our Chilakasi Adeli spoke with some of Curtis's family as they begin to process what happened.
People we've spoken with today so far have had nothing but good things to say about Kendrick Curtis. They say he was polite, he was respectful, he was helpful. Words his grandmother and his aunt echo. It's been a painful morning here at the Lindmar Terrace housing complex.
Yes, it's been a tough 3 hours, but with God, we're getting through.
Here, grieving the loss of Kendrick Curtis, including Nicole Luton.
It's a tragedy.
The deadly shooting happened around 6:20 last night. State police say ATF and FBI agents were working jointly in an investigation.
He came in the house, played around, said he was going to play basketball.
Officials say an ATF agent ended up shooting Curtis. Authorities have not made it clear what led up to that.
I seen the outrage of the members of this community.
Luton and other neighbors we spoke with call it wrong.
I just don't understand if you had to stop him.
He had a gun, all right? Your parents and grandparents, you don't want to be nosy parents, but you need to be, in a way. You should know if your kid owns a gun. You should know if a kid's hiding a gun in his or her bedroom, in my opinion. But Sad situation. Texas Governor Abbott renews a push to out state lawmakers who fled Texas to block the redistricting vote. Look at this for a second.
Texas Republicans enacted new consequences aimed at stopping future quorum breaks, and that includes a brand new state law. This is in all direct response to the Democrats who left the state this summer to block, at least for a time, a vote on redistricting in Texas. On Wednesday, Governor Greg Abbott signed House Bill 18 into law. What it does is defines what an impeding absence is for a Texas lawmaker. That is defined as an unexcused absence for members in which they are at a location outside of the state for purposes of impeding the actions of that member's house. It also bans members, legislative committees, and caucuses from taking political donations to help cover the fines that they might accrue during this impeding absence.
Guns are actually pretty cheap, Donna. I mean, I know a little bit about the Chicago prices and the prices down here. $250, $300, you can buy a gun with no serial number on it, and maybe just a Taurus 9mm or something. But these kids don't care. They're watching their rap videos and yada yada. Kids are carrying guns quite a bit. It's sad. And I've seen it with my own eyes, sadly. Ted Cruz compares FCC chair's threats against ABC to mob tactics. Who would have thought? Ted Cruz. Now, I get why he wants to stand up for free speech, but he's going against the GOP, his side of things, which he does usually. What are we going to do about this free speech? Is it okay to make violent threats to people?
He threatens explicitly, we're going to cancel ABC's license. We're going to take him off the air so ABC cannot broadcast anymore. And I got to say, he threatens it. He says, we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way.
Yeah.
And I got to say, that's right out of Goodfellas. That's right out of a mafioso coming into a bar going, nice bar you have here. It'd be a shame if something happened to it. And I got to say, look, I understand. Jimmy Kimmel has mocked me so many times I cannot count. The corporate media, they are dishonest. They are liars. I hate what Jimmy Kimmel said. I am thrilled that he was fired. But let me tell you, if the government gets in the business of saying, we don't like what you, the media, have said, we're going to ban you from the airwaves if you don't say what we like. That will end up bad for conservatives. It reminds me of, you and I are both fans of The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
J.R.R. Tolkien. It reminds me of like the Ring of Power. And it is so attractive. It's sort of like conservatives saying, wait, if we have government, we have power. Yeah. We can ban the media. Let me tell you what will happen. Going down this road, there will come a time when a Democrat wins again. Wins the White House.
They will get rid of every
Democrat
talk show
FCC,
in America that's a conservative. They'll get rid of every podcast. They'll get rid of everybody on YouTube.
They will silence us. They will use this power, and they will use it ruthlessly. Yeah. And that is dangerous. And by the way, in the Biden administration, they tried to go after and revoke Fox's license because they didn't like, and they say everything they say on Fox is hate speech. I'm sure they say everything you and I say is hate speech, is misinformation. Sure. They've defined anything counter to the leftist narrative as misinformation. Now, we just talked about Jimmy Kimmel was lying. But you know what? It's interesting. Brendan said, well, gosh, they slandered Charlie Kirk and his family. You know what? If they slandered him, there's already a remedy. There's a remedy of defamation. ABC could be sued. And by the way, you get a defamation lawsuit, you can pay millions of dollars. Let that process play out. I think it is unbelievably dangerous for government to put itself in the position of saying, we're going to decide what speech we like and what we don't, and we're going to threaten to take you off air if we don't like what you're saying. And it might feel good right now to threaten Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
But when it is used to silence every conservative in America, we will regret it. And so, again, I like Brendan Carr. But we should not be in this business. We should denounce it. It's fine to say what Jimmy Kimmel said was deplorable. It was disgraceful, and he should be off air. But we shouldn't be threatening government power to force him off air. That's a real mistake.
You got better things to argue about, Mr. Cruz. Trump intends to fire the U.S. attorney who didn't charge political enemy Letitia James with mortgage fraud.
New this morning, sources tell ABC News President Donald Trump is expected to fire the U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia as early as today. This after his office was unable to find incriminating evidence of mortgage fraud against New York Attorney General Letitia James. Federal prosecutors in Virginia said nothing was uncovered that proved James knowingly committed mortgage fraud.
And it's just been announced that that prosecutor has, in fact, resigned. So I guess he didn't want Trump to get fun in firing him. I don't know. He quit. Judge rejects Trump's New York Times $15 billion lawsuit for being decidedly improper and impermissible.
Breaking news, a federal judge is tossing out President Trump's $15 billion defamation lawsuit against the New York Times just days after it was filed. The reason? The judge said it was too long. CNN's Brian Stelter is following these developments. Brian, tell us more.
Yeah, this statement from the federal judge is dripping with derision. He refers to the federal rules of civil procedure and basically says, hey, you've submitted a PR memo. You've submitted an op-ed, not an actual lawsuit. So go back to the drawing board and try again. This was an 85-page lawsuit, although it only has 2 actual claims, 2 counts of defamation by the New York Times and by the book publisher Penguin Random House. An 85-page ruling with all sorts of pro-Trump commentary and many of the boasts that we're used to hearing from the president. You know, when I first read the lawsuit earlier this week, I kind of thought this feels like it was written for an audience that was of one. It was written to appeal to the president, but not to the court. And essentially, that's what Judge Stephen Merriday is saying in his statement today. He is saying to Trump's legal team, you can go ahead and refile this. You have 28 days to refile, but you've got to cut it down by more than half. He wants this turned back in with 40 pages or fewer, and he is saying that these lawyers have to.
My dog wanted to join. You want to join? Come on. Anyway, so yeah, no go with the New York Times $15 billion lawsuit as of now. Will Trump press the issue? I don't know. The House passes the Trump-backed plan to avert the government shutdown.
All right, we've got some more breaking news for you. House lawmakers just wrapped up a vote on that short-term spending bill we were discussing earlier. It looks like it's passed. Let's check in with CBS News congressional correspondent.
Unfortunately, it did not pass the House, or the Senate, passed the House. Senate voted against it.
The chances that the U.S. government are going to shut down at the end of the month just went up. So today, both chambers took a number of votes on trying to prevent a government shutdown, and the House passed the bill that would keep the government funded to November 21st, as well as give lawmakers $30 million for safety and protection. But the drama was always going to be in the Senate. They needed 60 votes to pass, which means they needed at least 7 Democrats to join with Republicans. And in the end, only 44 senators voted for the bill, not even a majority, and 2 Republicans actually voted against their own stopgap. Now, Congress is actually going to be out for all of next week. They're not coming back until less than 48 hours before that September 30th deadline. And while Leader John Thune says there will be another vote at that point, it's just not clear if there are going to be the votes on board to keep the government funded.
So, still waiting to see if the government will avert the shutdown or not. Trump administration is asking the Supreme Court to allow it to enforce passport sex designation policy. It would make passports reflect it would be fighting them getting able to put their chosen gender on there. I think it had to have their birth gender.
Today, the regime moved to block trans and non-binary people from getting a passport that matches their gender. They're asking the Supreme Court to make it permanent. Earlier this week, 2 sitting Congress members flat out said that trans people should be institutionalized simply for existing. Nancy Mace and Ronnie Jackson saying it out loud, in public, and in front of the media. This isn't politics. This is a blueprint for oppression. This is fascism. If you've ever wondered what you would have done during the Civil Rights Movement, or while people stayed silent during the Holocaust, here's your chance. History is watching. One day you will have to explain to your children and grandchildren. What will you say you did? Right now you need to privately check in with the trans...
Yes, of all the things in the world you could fight for, you know, transgender should be at the top of your list, right? Transvestite should be number 2. Ridiculous. I don't care what sex they put on their freaking passports, as long as they don't have anything that can kill you in their person, let them on the airplane. The Supreme Court sided with Tennessee's ban on transgender care for minors, so yay Tennessee.
In a 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court upholding Tennessee's law banning certain medical treatments for transgender minors. Lucas Tomlinson has the details. Lucas?
Well, good morning, Ainsley. It was a highly anticipated ruling with implications nationwide. The Supreme Court ruling to uphold a Tennessee law banning medical procedures, including puberty blockers, to transition minors to another sex. Clarence Thomas writing, quote, "This case carries a simple lesson. In politically contentious debates over matters shrouded in scientific uncertainty, courts should not assume that self-described experts are correct." The ruling drew protesters outside the Supreme Court yesterday. Earlier on Fox and Friends First, an attorney in California says more states should follow suit after this Supreme Court ruling.
People should be sickened with themselves for putting sexual ideas and thoughts in children's head anyway, especially that idea that you're not made perfect like God made you, but if you feel like you want to be a bunny rabbit, by God, we'll take you to the doctor and have ears attached to your head. Ridiculous. They should all be ashamed of themselves. Disgusting people. An Antifa agitator disrupted the Boston Charlie Kirk vigil. 2 people were arrested. They just can't stop themselves. You got to be sick and depraved to mess with grieving people.
Now on WBZ, one of the people arrested outside of the Charlie Kirk vigil on Boston Common in court and explaining what he did. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brianna Pitts. Hundreds attended last night's vigil, which started peaceful before the protests. WBZ's Penny Commit was at court as that demonstrator went before a judge.
Hearing. 14 at 9 a.m.
Antoine Castro Del Rio looking directly into the camera, wearing a T-shirt reading "Let Gaza Live" during his arraignment Friday morning. The 38-year-old was arrested during a Thursday night vigil at the State House honoring conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Castro Del Rio is charged with disorderly conduct and violating a city bylaw.
I was saying Charlie Kirk is a white nationalist.
Castro Del Rio tells us he was protesting the vigil using a bullhorn to read quotes from Kirk.
By Palestine, he said, "I don't think the place exists." About transgender people, he said, "They are an abomination to God."
According to court documents, officers asked Castro Del Rio numerous times to stop using his amplification device, even unplugging it at one point. Heart attack. Castro Del Rio allegedly plugged it back in.
And then he continued to use that amplification device to agitate and yell at individuals.
Freedom of speech is something that is very infringed nowadays with the president that we have in power.
Castro Del Rio says this is his 5th time being arrested at Boston area protests. And while he says he absolutely condemns the violence against Kirk, he will not mourn or celebrate him.
We in the city of Boston do not mourn white nationalists. We do not mourn misogynists.
This while a group of over 100 Kirk supporters honored the conservative activist. Many in attendance telling us they viewed Kirk as godlike.
I really liked his ideas. I thought that he spoke for a lot of people.
I first heard about Charlie Kirk. I was very angry, and then I went to, well, finally, we're all going to come together. And we didn't. It got worse.
Castro Del Rio was released on personal recognizance, although the judge ruled he cannot be on Boston Common. He's due back in court October 9th. In Boston, I'm Penny Commit, WBZ News.
All right. That's the situation in Boston. Sorry I let it go so long. I was looking at something. A Maryland senator introduces new legislation to protect free speech in the wake of the Kimmel suspensions. Now states are working on this.
Now one Maryland lawmaker is taking action.
Randy Ayala joins us now live on the National Mall with the story. Good morning, Randy.
Hey guys, good morning. Yeah, Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen will be here on the National Mall later today at the We Are America rally. He's also co-sponsoring the NOPE Act. It's brand new legislation aimed at protecting First Amendment speech and preventing what some are calling a censorship in the case of Jimmy Kimmel. So let's get into what the NOPE Act does. The No Political Enemies Act, it protects individuals and organizations, including media outlets, from politically motivated harassment and prosecution from the federal government. It reaffirms free speech and prohibits the president from weaponizing the government against people who disagree with the administration. It also provides tools for those wrongly targeted to defend themselves in court. Yesterday, Maryland Senators Chris Van Hollen and Angela Also Brooks spoke out about the importance of protecting First Amendment rights in this country. Now, some Republican senators have agreed Jimmy Kimmel is entitled to free speech, but still support Disney's decision to pull Kimmel's show.
The First Amendment is crystal clear. The government may not use its power to squash political dissent.
If it becomes the case that the government can restrict expression in the way that we've heard the president say that if you criticize the president, that the network can lose its licenses, we cease to be the United States of America.
Guy on the right, I mean, I just said he's entitled under the First Amendment to say what he wants. But on the other hand, I applaud the move of Disney, his corporate parent, to say, we think this is terrible.
Now, that We Are America rally being held on the National Mall later today will include participants from across the country calling out, quote, Donald Trump's unconstitutional actions and abuses of power. That
Oh, yes, he's just so abusive. All right. This I had to show you. This is just insane. This woman, this is why you should stop using your phones. I mean, seriously? Just, my God. If you are that addicted to your phone, wow. That's insane. Not funny, but kind of a lesson in there somewhere, I have a feeling. ICE deployed tear gas as Chicago protesters blocked vehicles and everything else. Got pretty chaotic there. They even had a woman running for state legislator thrown to the ground.
In the past hour, protesters were seen gathering outside an Immigration and Customs Enforcement processing facility just outside of Chicago. DHS has been conducting its Operation Midway Blitz in that state of Illinois, and federal agents deployed tear gas and non-lethal munitions at that crowd. ICE reportedly taking one of those protesters into custody. Apparently, that person tried to block a van from leaving the facility. Charles, I interviewed the deputy director at ICE, and one of the things she talked about was just the threat against them because of this sort of thing, that they have to take this so much more seriously than they ever have because of the rhetoric on the left that has put them in peril potentially from people who might come out. People
are insane. Yes, it's the rhetoric from the left. Anyway, it was happening also in Manhattan at an ICE office where several New York officials were arrested, they themselves protesting.
I am here to ensure that we protect all our fellow constituents. It is not illegal to be undocumented.
Let's go. Start grabbing. Let's go.
We shall not be moved. 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 We shall not be moved.
Looks like they got moved to me. They shall be moved. They were moved. You got moved. Couple other things before we move forward here. This came up. RFK Jr.'s vaccine panel votes against recommending prescription for the COVID vaccine, emphasizing personal choice. So there won't be any prescriptions for the COVID vaccine. Not sure why they would to begin with. And a nationwide Walmart recall I thought I should point out to you guys in case you have either of these two items. Let's see if I can bring these up. These power packs from Anker, Anker, the lithium-ion battery in the power bank can overheat, posing fire and burn hazards to consumers. These 5 different models are on nationwide recall. And these you can charge different things with. And then this shelf set. The recalled dressers are unstable if they're not anchored to the wall, posing tip-over and entrapment hazards that can result in serious injuries or death to children. And those are from the Enhomee, Enhomee 13-drawer dressers. Yeah. Did not meet the Sturdy Act. So, yep, that is the Walmart recall. You can look at it further if you think you might have bought one of those 2 items. Okay, that concludes the news portion of your viewing pleasure. Now we've